because we work on a sector-based model where the same officers technically are in your neighborhood. They're patrolling the same areas every night of the week. Well, for the most part. You know, there's 2 or 3 different teams, but it's usually the same people. Okay?
What was Lonnie's last name again?
Lonnie Peterson.
Peterson.
Yep. How many of you guys have an alarm system on your house? Okay, that's one way of doing it. Do you keep it armed all the time? Have you had any issues with it?
No.
Do you use it regularly?
No.
Okay. Here in the city of Lakewood, about 5 years ago, we went to what was called verified alarm response. So that means if the alarm company receives an alarm, they actually have to call out there, and the alarm has to be verified that there was a crime or somebody's been breaking in. Why do you guys think that is? False alarms. That was the bulk of our calls on, let's say, a nightly or even a daily basis. False alarms. It's incredible the amount of alarms and the things that would set off alarms. So I've kind of got a different attitude being a police officer on alarms than other people. There is a use for them in certain things, but you know, it's not like the ADT commercial where somebody breaks the glass and ADT's on the phone to you guys 5 seconds later. It doesn't happen like that. It takes minutes to relay things, and then minutes for them to call the police, and then minutes for us to dispatch it. It's one of those things that you definitely need to look at. You know, there is uses for it, just like you said, expensive valuables, things that you really want to secure or let know that you know, a bad guy's coming if they're breaking in, things like that. So,
question.
yes.
How many of these neighborhood thieves are safe?
I don't know. Usually they just take the safe.
Safe, and we have our personal safe inside the gun safe.
Is your safe bolted to the floor or attached to the house?
It's about 800 pounds, so we're going to have to bring it bolted.
Okay, that's one way of doing it. Just what we were talking about, some of you weren't in here, we were talking about me and Brian in our position. We don't always get to do real police work, which means, you know, go out and arrest people and things like that. We do stuff like this. Well, today, before this, we actually got to arrest a guy who was involved in a bunch of burglaries. One of the interesting things he had in his truck, we didn't really know much about the case. One of the interesting things that he had in the back of his truck was a safe. Probably an 800-pound safe with its door ripped off.
You're kidding.
No. So if you have safes, I would encourage you to put it in an obscure location where nobody really knows where it is, and then it needs to be attached to the house somehow. Heavy duty attached to the house. If you have concrete floors, things like that, it needs to have bolts that go into the concrete floor. These criminals get sophisticated.
Drill through the walls, put a chain around the stud of the wall, and literally bolt that safe. Because, you know, if a criminal's got some time, he's going to have a dolly. He's going to have a few guys. And just make it that much more difficult. Those guns are precious. And it really bothers me because I've got a gun safe myself. And, you know, if you have weapons at your house, you have to have it. But, you know, a real fear of mine is, what if somebody takes my guns and uses them?
That was my thing. I don't really care about the guns. You know, that's value as a monetary value.
Yeah.
What if somebody stole them and then went out and killed somebody with them?
Make it as difficult as possible for them to do that by bolting that thing, permanently affixing that thing to the inside of your house some way.
So I have a question along those lines, because I recommend to clients safes over safe deposit boxes. Because when somebody dies, it's really hard to get in a safe deposit box, and a lot of times we're trying to avoid probate, which is the only way you can get in that sometimes. Any recommendations on where to put the safes? I've told them that you can get the kind that you can drill through the legs and bolt into the floor, but I mean, you know.
It's kind of personal choice in how much you use it. You know, I thought about that with my house. Where would I put a safe? And to me, you know, I'd probably put it in my basement utility room, you know, somewhere in there that it just looks like a piece of equipment, you know, where it can be bolted to a concrete floor. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if it's something that you're using all the time, you have a den or an office or something like that, you really want to have to go down to the utility room and you know, do all that kind of stuff. You know, that's where you closet safes, if you have enough room in the floor, or if, you know, they build certain things in. It's just in how you have to look at it.
What about the wall safes? Are they very hard for the thieves to get out of the walls, or?
depends on the wall.
As long as
It's
they
just-
don't know it's there.
Yeah,
that's
if it's
more
just dry,
concealed.
if it's just drywall, you know,
Yeah, then they just
it's
gotta,
3/8 drywall, okay, I'll break it out and, you know, figure out some way of jimmying it out if they have that much time.
Obviously, keep the gun safes away from any doors or windows. Keep it away from any access points. So if somebody's gonna break out a door, it's gonna be that much easier. They're like, well, the gun safe is literally right by the door. It's not gonna take me a whole lot to get the dolly out and get a couple guys and get it right out the door. So, you know, and it's a pain in the butt to put it out of the way, you know, if you gotta put it down a flight of stairs, but we almost suggest that because it's gonna take them forever to get that thing out of your house. I went to a burglary once where they used the guy's power tools to try to defeat the safe. So consider that too. If you have, you know, if it's in the garage and it's amongst all your power tools, we don't recommend that either. So
I hope we're not scaring you guys with this. Because that's not really the intent of it. The intent of it is just to make you aware and maybe pick our brain, or we have certain ideas about certain things and the way we see things. And it's just, it goes back to the opportunity. We want you guys to be safe and to prevent those opportunities for people to victimize you. And we do that with everybody. That's the whole thing. It's not scaring people.
Isn't it better to have a safe without hinges on the outside?
It's always better to have everything without hinges on the outside, doors and everything. Because the hinges, if I walk up to a door on the outside and it's got hinges, I pop the pins and I got the door.
You're in.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, there's you could go into all kinds of detail on placement of safes and types of safes and things like that. It's not a foolproof thing.
You know, it's not a matter of being afraid. It's just the irritation to do all this stuff.
Oh, I know. I know.
These guys, you know.
I know. I hate these. I hate these. So, when you're away from home, use timers inside and out. TV and radio. These are kind of common sense things that have been around for a long time. If it looks like somebody's there, you're less likely to get victimized. It goes back to all those septet principles. If somebody's taking care of stuff, you know, if you're away for a long time, let's say you go away for a month or something like that, maybe you want to arrange to have a lawn service come out and cut your lawn, somebody to come out and pick up your papers, somebody to pick up your mail. Because these guys will cruise around neighborhoods. They look at the stack of papers that are laying outside the door.
Yeah.
Somebody hasn't been there, laying out in the driveway. Somebody hasn't been there for a week or whatever.
what's another
We
real
start
sick
trying
thing
to
that
do
people do along those lines? Funerals,
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
make sure you get somebody home in the event you have a death in the family of some kind. We've gone through a lot of burglaries where they read through those and they hit those houses. So people really have no soul about these things. And, you know, they're driven by drugs or whatever, but don't be a victim of that.
I have a quick question on security systems when you were asking if people had security systems. I have a client that just recently told me that she had one put on a home where her parents had died, and it's a wireless one. So it's because of cutting wires. Do you know any about the
Maybe
two
a
different
panic
kinds?
alarm. Maybe that's, they had the button. or
Yeah,
the button.
yeah. And so it's triggered by wireless stuff. All the it's a satellite thing, so that they can't cut the phone lines, they can't cut the power lines. It's all
Well, see,
wireless.
most modern alarm systems, if somebody cuts the power line or the power goes out, it's going to notify the company. They're going to know
Okay.
that the power went out.
And
But yeah, there's wireless systems, things like that. You know, there's definitely, they try and get better at it, but it's not, a lot of people that I've talked to about alarms and things like that, well, you know, I can do this or I can do that because I've got an alarm. It really, in my experience, it doesn't, it really does nothing. And that's the unfortunate thing, is I just don't have, and that's my position. I've been doing this for 12 years. I don't have anything really good to say about alarms. I can think of all the actual alarm calls I went to. I've never had one that was a good residential alarm, where there was actually a break-in. I know I've had one or two that were commercial businesses that were good ones, but residential alarms, no. You can ask them.
I don't know if this fits right in the right place to bring this up, but I'll give you an account of something that happened in our neighborhood, and I see this when I'm driving around, going places. People will get a brand new television set. They put the TV in the house, set it up, they take the big box, they set it out there at the curb, and for the trash to pick up. It's like advertising.
Advertising, that's exactly.
We had a situation in which we found out that this trash company had somebody working for him who was then turning it over to a group